Hello, this is Meg here. Thank you for waiting for this episode of Really Good Exposure. It's a very fun one, so we wanted to build up the suspense before we released it. Also, we wanted to coincide the release with a new announcement that I am finally allowed to make. So if you wait until the end of the podcast episode, you will hear a very exciting announcement in regards to my solo show, Really Good Exposure. So make sure you listen to the full episode so that you hear that message at the end. Enjoy!
Hi, I'm Kaya Scodelario, and today I got some really good exposure with Meg, talking about the less glamorous side of acting and why you should never leave a cake unattended in a nightclub. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Really Good Exposure. I'm your host, Megan Prescott, and today I'll be interviewing someone who I first met as a 16-year-old and have had the pleasure of knowing for over 15 years now. She's an actress, a mum, and an all-round amazing person, and I'm going to introduce her like I introduced all of my guests. So, I'm Megan fucking Prescott. Who the fuck are you? I'm Kaya fucking Scodelario.
Hello.
Hi, mate.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I was going through all these questions and I was like, we're going to go wildly off on tangents. But
Yeah, 100%.
I
want to start. 15 years, that's mental.
I know. I thought that the other
15
day.
years? I think it is.
Because
I'm 16.
I'm 32, nearly 33, and we were 16.
Yeah,
You were
I was
15, right?
15, yeah. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. So that brings me on to my first question,
Nice.
which was, do you remember when we met? Because obviously it was Skins, but I'm trying to remember whether it was during the actual auditioning process or that dinner that we all had where we met in Bristol.
So when I'm thinking about it, I think it was the dinner. No, I actually remember exactly the moment I met you.
Do you? I don't remember.
As day. I remember it clear. It's literally just popped in my brain. So it was at Company House, which was the production offices.
Yeah.
For the production company that produced Skins. And you and Kat, and I think your mum or someone else was sat on the couch in the hallway.
Oh, wait, I actually think I know what you mean.
And I remember that. I remember walking through Company House and seeing you both, and you both sat down together. And you both had really cool eyeliner on. And I remember that very clearly.
Oh.
But then I think we said hello, but we didn't like chat.
Yeah.
And then the proper first time meeting was at the dinner in Bristol that Lily turned up too late. And yeah, that one.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. So that must have been.
I don't think you had the part yet. I think you must have still been auditioning.
Oh my God. I think that was the day when they said to us, like, they were like, okay, so who of you two decided, like, between yourselves that you'd like rather read for? Because we want to hear what you think.
Oh.
And so I said Katie and Kat said Emily. And they were like, we kind of saw it the other way around. Do you mind reading the other way around? And we read and they were like, yeah, no, you're right. Switch back.
Oh, how weird. There's a universe in which it would have been the other way around. Oh, that's freaky.
Strange,
That's
right?
very strange.
Strange. But yeah, I must have been, I think I might have even been 15 for that part because I turned 16 in June. I always age in June. But we started filming in summer, right? So I think I maybe have even been 15 back then.
It's mad. I feel like I never had a concept of time when we were shooting those shows. Like I try and, I remember it being summer because it was hot sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's it. I don't actually remember how long we were there for.
No.
It's such a blur.
And it was mostly, because it was in summer holidays because I wasn't in sixth form.
Yeah.
And then, but there were some bits of it where I missed sixth form because I asked my fucking headmistress, of the sixth form that I went to before I dyed my hair, because the producers of Skins were like, oh, we like that your hair's like kind of red, but can you do it really red for the show? And I was like, yeah. I told my headmistress before, like, hey, by the way, I need to do this for a show because they were like,
the hair dye, right?
We were allowed to dye our hair, but not like fake colours.
Not fun colours.
Yeah.
Just anything that conforms.
Exactly.
Is all right, yeah.
And she was like, yeah, that's fine. Dyed it. And then she was like, oh, we didn't think you meant this red. And I was like, well, it's too late. I'm sorry. I've promised everyone and I've done it. But yeah, I also had like, most of the teachers were absolutely fine with me missing some time off. But like the two drama teachers, these two guys were arseholes to me.
Really?
About
How
missing.
interesting. And they were the drama teachers.
I was like,
Come on, like I'm
doing the thing you're meant to be getting me to do.
You're teaching me to do this, yeah. But they were like, no, we're not. I was like, can you just save me the worksheets? Like,
yeah.
And they were like, it's not our job to keep you up to speed. And I was like, I'm sorry.
So
you were a teacher.
You were in sixth form, right?
Yeah.
So whenever I was shooting, I was in secondary school, which meant I was only allowed to shoot in the summer, to the point where I was meant to be in Chris's funeral scene at the end of, must have been 2. Oh my God, how many seasons? Yeah, 2, before our generation came along. And my head teacher wouldn't give me permission to have time off school. They were literally like, no, this is a weird little hobby that you're doing and we're not going to let you have any time off. But I ended up not going to college or sixth form at all. I left school at 16 because you could back then, can't now.
Can you not?
No, you have to go through till, I think so. My friends say that. But yeah, so I never had like problems with that, but they only let me shoot during the summer, the first 2 seasons.
In a way, I guess it's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Because I'm like, you're a kid. But then I'm
don't
also
quit
like,
your life for this TV show.
But then also I'm like, for the drama teacher in sixth form to be like that, I'm like, come on, like, be proud.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very weird.
Wait, did you pass?
Oh, I did pass, but do you know how? Because I was supposed to learn a monologue and do it as a performance, as part of our like mark for, what were they, A-level, one of them,
A-levels,
right?
yeah.
And I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to memorize all the lines for Skins like every day, then also come back and just perform a 5-minute monologue like in front of people that like I haven't had time to practice or learn. And I'm not kidding. I made it up on the spot.
Did you? Amazing.
And the audience were like, so believable. That was like great. And I cried during it. I was like, this is, because I was so tired from filming. It was just really easy
all the
to
trauma
cry.
from filming the show coming out.
But then my teacher afterwards took me aside because everyone was clapping and everyone was like, so great. And he was like, I know what you did, Megan. Don't think I didn't know that you didn't prepare any of that. And I was like, no, I'm just a brilliant writer and actor. But yeah, he was having none of it. I've also got down here, what is your favorite memory of us together?
Oh.
I'm trying to think, my brain, I don't remember much from Skins.
No, I think in my memory, our friendship actually properly started after Skins, which is kind of what I love about our relationship and our friendship, that it wasn't like a forced one.
Yeah.
I think during Skins, we had quite separate groups within, like friendships within the cast, and you know, I was still hanging out with the first generation lot, and I think you and the girls from the second one formed a bit more of a bond because of that. I was also stupidly wasting my time with boys instead of girls, which I've learnt my lesson about. And I think our friendship actually grew properly post Skins.
Yeah.
And that's when all my memories are.
Yeah. I feel like it was like kind of like our university.
Yeah.
Like whenever anyone talks about their uni friends, when they're well, now, I think, I guess it's someone who you had a shared experience with and you learn a lot of stuff throughout. And I'm like, yes, that was basically
100%,
Skins.
yeah. It's our uni friends, yeah.
And a lot of us, I don't think, did any of us actually go to uni?
Not that I know of.
Well, I
think
went
a
for
couple
2
did,
weeks and then I quit.
Did you? I didn't know that.
I was just like, now I'm like, all right, so obviously, because I was undiagnosed autistic and just had no idea what I was doing, couldn't deal with it. Overwhelmed. It just melt down and had to quit. But at the time I didn't have the words, or like, I was just like, this is not for me. I can't physically do this. But yeah, it's a point of contention between me and my dad, because one of the things the only thing he's ever really been like pushing for me is he's like, you're going to be the first member of our family to go to university. It's so good. It's so good. No one in our family.
Oh my God, I had the same pressure and I was like, okay, but I'm on a TV show. Is that not all right?
Hello, I'm doing something. Like, don't put all the family like pressure on me. And also now, if he ever does bring it up, I'm like, well, that's actually not true. I did go to uni. I just decided it wasn't for me.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think it's nice that we did have a version of that kind of bonding process.
Yeah, definitely. And like all the nuances that go with it, I think like we would have falling outs, and we fell in love and had our heart broken and had family stuff and work. Like, we went through this extreme of teenagehood condensed down to 2 summers. And that's quite crazy, actually, if you think about it.
Yeah, 2 summers.
It was 2 summers was all it was. And it's such a huge part of my identity is that time filming. Not necessarily when the show came out, like more the actual bits of us filming, because so much happened.
Yeah.
And I grew so much as a person, and also kind of made all the mistakes and all the things that you're meant to do slowly throughout your teenagehood in those 2 summers.
Actually, yeah, it was almost like a compressed, like
crash
condensed,
course in
make all your mistakes
life.
now. And
it
was. I do feel like we learn. Well, I definitely learned a lot about like the industry and working in like it was like a crash course.
Yeah.
Like, you better fucking get there on time, or
no, you're at work now.
You're not. You are not a child anymore.
12+ day working hour days.
Yeah,
there is a hierarchy that you must understand and fall in line with.
Yeah,
you're going to have to advocate for yourself. No one else is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like insane, fully into work life. And look, granted, on a very fun thing that was, for me, like a pleasure to be on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the actual work side of it and how much went into us needing to be grown-ups immediately was quite overwhelming. And looking back on it, I don't think I'd want my kids to go through it.
I don't think so. I always think, like, what if my kids wanted to be actors? And I've been like, I really hope they
try
don't
and put them off. Yeah, 100%. Unless it really was a passion and they loved it, but then I'd make them work their way up.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think it's an industry that I would particularly recommend.
No, and if my kid was in it, I would be like, I mean, again, I imagine, what is it, Kate Hudson, that everybody says, oh, she's a nightmare to work with, her mum, whatever. And I was like, I wonder if it's actually because her mum is actually advocating for her and like people don't like that. So I can imagine myself being like a nightmare to work with, but like a good representative of my child on set.
Good. Yeah.
But yeah, hope they don't. I hope they want to be accountants.
But no, my favorite memory of us, there's so many. I think one of my top ones is, it was one of your birthdays, because we always celebrate your birthday. It's a big deal. Meg is the one who, out of all of us, we will celebrate her birthday every year, and I love it.
I think it's because I'm a twin, because I had to share it for so long. 100%. And then now Kat is in America. I'm like, it's mine.
The stripper birthday that you had.
Oh my God.
The male strip show. That was really fun.
Yeah.
And who was it? Katie Price's nephew or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Or
some vaguely connection to a vaguely famous person.
Yeah.
Who we then got talking to in the smoking area, and he was really cringe.
I've got some, I need to find them. I've got some amazing photos of it's me and you, because we were on those like tall stools at the back. And I think Kat took the photos, and it's me and you. I've like got both my hands over my mouth screaming, and you're like, ah! Like, we look like we are having the fucking time of our lives, and I need to find those photos.
Was very good. That and the one where we were outside, oh God, China Whites. That's showing our age. Remember China Whites?
Oh,
in Central, and you sat on your birthday cake in the cab.
No,
or did you drop it? Something happened with your cake.
So Catherine was really excited about this cake because she'd like just turned vegan. Because Kat was vegan before it was cool. Like,
yeah.
Kat was vegan when she was like 13.
Yeah.
And she was eating like dry pizza crusts and like with nothing on them. But she just, the topping on this cake was heavily like fruit orientated. So she was getting really excited that on the way back, she was going to be able to eat cake.
That's right.
And she didn't want the cream to get on it or something. So Catherine has never been a fan of like those kinds of clubs. Fair enough.
Yeah,
right?
Fair enough. I don't think we were. We just pretended we were.
I dragged her there, and the whole night she spent like sitting next to this cake, protecting it, right? And the second...
That's it, because we took the cake in the club, but didn't eat it. We just took it in there.
It was one of those things where the club promoters bring it to you as sparklers in.
That's it, yeah.
So it was a really good cake, right? And Kat was protecting it, and this drunk man, like, I think my friend Holly put her arm in it, and then and that was fine. But then this drunk man kind of half sat on it.
I just remember there was a whole row about the cake in the cab, and it was
Catherine
amazing. Yeah,
was furious, and she was like, "Look what you just did! Look, this cake!" And, like, insanely angry about this cake. And then Holly, my friend Holly, was like, I just remember seeing her from across the room being like, nah, at this guy. And I was like, this guy is too drunk to even understand what he's done, but they are upset. And then the guy, like, I might have to cut this out, but the guy like slapped Holly, a drunk slap, but a slap all the same.
On the face?
Yep.
Oh.
And I didn't think about it, punched him.
Oh my God.
I
this
may
is
have to
way
cut this
bigger a
out.
story than it was in my mind. I thought you sat in the cake in a cab.
No. It went much further than this.
I must have been drunk.
And all of these people like came swarming around. I like slipped out. And that's when we all left.
Yeah.
I went up to Catherine and I was like, we have to go because I just punched someone. But yeah, that was that night.
That's a good memory.
So, well-behaved ladies. Yes, so the point of this podcast is to talk about the work we've done, but also to like highlight that everybody's working day looks different.
Mm-hmm.
And especially nowadays, people do so many different types of work. And like, it's interesting how people react to different sorts of work and how
Mm-hmm.
people manage their day. So I've been asking everybody on the podcast, like, what an average day in their life looks like. Like, doesn't need to be too detailed, but like roughly what does your day-to-day life look like? Because I, back in the day, could not understand how other people structured their day.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that like the normal structure of like a 9 to 5 wouldn't suit me. And
Mm-hmm.
so you've had very not 9 to 5 jobs. So I just wonder like what a rough day in your life looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most unique part of what I do in day-to-day is that I have absolutely no idea what my day-to-day is ever going to look like.
Yeah.
And there's a real lovely freedom that comes with that. And like you say, I always knew that I wasn't a 9 to 5 kind of person. But there's also, and especially as I kind of get older and am aware a lot more of my mental health and what I need to get through life, is really difficult. That I have absolutely no structure to my day at all.
Yeah.
And when I was a teenager, when we were shooting Skins, a day on set is completely different to a day off set.
Yeah.
I love a day on set. If I were to think of describing a work day, to me, a work day would be, waking up at 5 a.m., being taken to set, going to essentially a caravan park in a disused Curry car park somewhere, Curry's car park, and getting your hair and makeup done at 7, and then you get breakfast in the trailer, and then you go on to set and you work for 12 hours, and then you go home and you're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't sound very interesting, but like that to me is a work day. But
Mm-hmm.
that's only probably about 30% of my work life.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is just completely out of my hands most of the time. So it depends on, for example, I had a show come out a couple of weeks ago. So since then it's been really busy because there's a lot of press that you do afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that could look like, waking up at 6, getting hair and makeup done, going to a stylist who put you in these kind of clothes that you're meant to really like. You're told that they're fancy, so you should like them. Sometimes you do, sometimes you're like, the fuck is this? Give me my
Interesting
jeans
choice,
and
yeah.
t-shirt, but whatever, I'll do it. And then it'll be going into a hotel room and sitting in a chair and having 30 to 40 journalists come in 5-minute increments and interview you.
Whoa.
Like in, what's the Hugh Grant movie with...
Oh, Notting Hill?
Notting Hill.
Yeah.
You know that bit,
really?
Country and Hound.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like that. It's a press junket where you go, and those days are really quite exhausting because your brain sort of has to be switched on all the time, and you're trying to sound funny and intelligent
Mm-hmm.
and eager, and you're answering the same questions over and over again.
Mm.
And most of the time, especially as a woman, they tend to be quite unimaginative questions. I'll sit next to a male co-star and he'll be asked about his craft and how he sees his character and the nuances of playing such a man. And then I'll be asked what my favorite outfit was. So there's kind of that side to what I do, which can also be quite fun because it's all nonsense. And I kind of try and treat it as nonsense and realize that I'm really lucky to just be doing a bit of nonsense for a day.
Mm.
And then on my most boring days, I'm sat utterly depressed because I don't have a job and I feel like everyone else in the world does.
Isn't it crazy that you're at the level that you are? You've had like the success and you still, the imposter syndrome is still
It's huge.
a thing.
It's absolutely huge. I mean, when The Gentleman came out, which was my last show, it was number 1 across the world. And that day I was sat there thinking, fuck, I haven't had any auditions for ages. What am I going to do next? What job am I going to do next? How am I going to pay the mortgage?
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, there's never a moment. But I also think that's, I was raised by an immigrant parent, and I think that's kind of a lot of immigrant mentality that you have to work hard all the fucking time and you're never comfortable.
Yeah.
And I will never, because I grew up poor, essentially, quite poor, I will never be at a point where I think oh, I can afford to relax for a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to hustle. I want to work. I want to make the most of the opportunities I've been given.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say, honestly, most of my working life is worrying about not being in work.
I guess it's something like, it's basically, I guess, survival mode. Like, if you know that, like, right, this could happen. Like, I could lose all of this in a second, even though as you get more successful, the likelihood of that is like smaller and smaller. It's still in you to be like, fucking work. Like,
yeah. But I think that's a lack of structure.
Yeah.
If I'd had a 9 to 5, or if I could set out my days, if I could plan them, I could know what's coming ahead. And I never know what's coming ahead. And as someone who suffers with like borderline anxiety syndrome, to not fucking know what's coming is terrifying, right? It's like the worst thing in the world.
That's really true.
And I'm such a catastrophist. Like I will picture just everything ending tomorrow.
Yeah.
I fail to see or embrace the positives sometimes, which is something I'm working on, because it is incredible. And I've been really, really, really lucky. I get to do a job that I love, and a lot of people don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to teach myself to be a little bit more in the moment of it and take those in. And if I have a really good day, I'll write it down now. I'll go, today was a good day. This happened and this happened and this happened. Otherwise, I will find some way of making it a depressing day.
Yeah. I feel like that's something that maybe some people that do have 9 to 5s don't think about, because I feel like what you see on the outside of someone like who has a really successful acting career, you might think, oh my God, their life must be so glamorous, all this stuff. But you don't see that, like, if, for example, you were a lawyer, right, which is also like a hard job. If you make it to the top, it's like a well-paying job, but you've had to work hard. However, there was a pre-existing structure in place to get to that position. Whereas I feel like a lot of creative industries, you have to work fucking hard, but you also have to invent a structure.
You're so right. I mean, that's such a good point. I've been talking about this recently in press, because I kind of, I really want to move into producing, and I get this kind of moment of doubt in myself where I think, well, I'm not an old white man, so I won't be able to do it. And I realize that we've been on sets for 16 years.
Yeah.
I have actually got more experience on a set than most of the directors or producers that I work with.
How many scripts have you read and then seen how they get developed from an idea to like, if anything would prepare you for being a producer, I can't think of anything better than that.
Yeah.
Like, it's in your blood.
But my point is that even with all that experience, like if I were a lawyer or a doctor, I would have made tenure or something by now. Do you know what I mean? I'd be given a pen, or like a little plaque or
some
something.
kind of guarantee.
I'd be made partner. I would have some kind of stability and structure within the corporation, within the company that I've helped build, or whatever it may be. Obviously, that's not what I've done. But there is still, with creative industries, a huge amount of doubt, because like you say, there isn't a pre-existing structure that you can go, okay, I've made it to this level now I have some security.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have maternity leave. We don't have holiday pay, like none of those kind of day-to-day working things. I had to plan when to have my kids around a like work schedule, which is kind of really odd. And then I had to force myself straight back to work so that I wouldn't lose that momentum. I went back when my son was 3 months old. I shot a movie, and when my daughter was 8 months old, I went back to work. And I loved that. I loved being back on set, and I was amazed that I had the opportunity to do that. I think, unfortunately, a lot of actresses I've kind of written off once they have kids. And I refused to let that happen to me. So I wanted to get back there immediately. But there was no kind of, are you okay? It's just go straight back into it.
It's so hard, because you're like, I feel like as a woman, you're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, because of this whole, like, I mean, like girl boss feminism, which is, you can't want to be a housewife, and that's shit. You shouldn't do that. You should be working every day, like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's not what we're arguing for. We're arguing that we should have just as much opportunities as men would have. So if we want to work, we can, and we'd have the same opportunities as a man would. If we want to take time off to have a kid, the problem is, you've now got like loads of women who are like, I have to do both. Like, I have to be a girl boss, work every day, and also be an amazing mum, and like think of the hours in the day that I can fit all those things in. And I'm just like, how does anybody balance all of that? Like, it's
and it's such a high bar that we set for ourselves. And I think, having been working from the age of 14, I do set myself with such a high bar in that I feel like a lot of my identity revolves around my work, which I'm not sure is incredibly healthy, to be honest. And I think I'm 32 32 now, and I'm trying to figure out who I am outside of being an actor, outside of kind of just being involved in that very odd, very weird world. And look, it sounds like I'm shitting on it horrifically, and I'm very aware of how fortunate I am. And I love it. I still do love my job. I've fallen out of love with the industry a little bit. But I think that tends to happen if you've been doing something for 16 years and you still see all the problems all the time. I still get on set and work with people that I just think, God, you're only here because you were born rich and white and male and successful, and you're talking over me, and I have so much more experience than you. But yeah, I still love what I do, and I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. But it's an odd one. It's a hard one to explain.
So you said you were 14 when you started acting. Was Skins your first acting job?
It was my, well, weirdly, actually, they shot some like BBC thing in my secondary school when I was in year 8.
Oh my God, imagine if someone finds that footage. I would love it.
God, terrifying, right? And I was an extra in that. I was in the background of that.
How old were you, did you say?
I was in year 8, so it must have been right before Skins. I mean, literally probably when I was 13. But then no, Skins was my first ever proper job. I went to an open audition. My school got a fax through saying that they were a fax. That's how old we are. A literal fax. A fax machine, kids, is, I don't even know what a fax machine is, but it was something we used.
It was like an online printer. People could send things to your printer.
An email, but prints it out immediately.
Really weird.
About open auditions. So the school got a fax through about open auditions at the National Youth Theatre in Holloway, which was on my way home from school. And it was for 16 to 18-year-olds, and I was 14 at the time. But I really wanted to go see it because I knew I loved acting. I knew I loved drama, and I had told myself at the grand old age of at 14 that I was too old and that it was never going to happen for me.
Oh my God.
Because I'd watched a BBC show, a documentary about musical theatre kids. And there was like a boy who was like 8 years old and on the West End. And I was like, oh, I'm too old. I've missed the boat.
Oh my God. Withering away at 14.
Yeah. So I went down just to have a look at it, because I don't know why. I just went, it was on my walk home, and I went and stood outside and I was watching. And Brian Elsley, the creator, was outside having a cigarette. And I think that too many people had turned up. So he was going down the queue and telling people to go, which is quite harsh. You don't look right. Fuck off.
Go.
And he saw me cross the road, and I think I was smoking a cigarette. And I looked very proper London teenager. And he came over and he asked if I wanted to audition for Effy, and I did. Didn't get the part. Went to someone else.
Oh.
They shot 2 or 3 episodes with this other person.
Oh my God, I didn't know this.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know the full story, but apparently her mum realised that she wasn't comfortable with her child playing this part, or something like that, or disagreed with the scripts, or whatever happened, and she was gone, and then I was brought in.
And they reshot everything?
Yeah. It's only like 3 or 4 scenes, because Effy wasn't in it that much.
Still though, like, wow.
Yeah, there's a world in which there was another Effy.
Oh my God. That's funny as well, because that really is a story that people hear where they're like, I guess you did go to the audition, but then they're like, oh yeah, I just got like spotted on the streets.
Yeah. Oh, I did audition. I went in and did the audition. But no, I didn't. It did weirdly, I don't believe in fate at all, but it did really feel like right place, right time.
Yeah.
Bizarrely so. To the point where I think that's probably why I struggled to accept that I deserve to be here still. Because in my mind, it all still stems from just luck, just it happening the right way.
But I also think there's a lot of people that probably like were spotted to different projects, different things. And I don't think it so much matters how you got your foot in the first audition room. But then if you were shit or you were like great for like 6 months and then you really started to like stop bothering. Like you've had your career is, wait, how old are you? 30?
32.
32. So are we the same age?
Yeah, I turned 32 March. We were at my birthday.
No, but I did. Oh.
Yeah, we're the same age for like 6 months.
Okay.
And then you're a year older than me.
Okay.
Wait, when's your birthday? June?
Yeah, June.
Yeah, so it's like we have that little gap where we're the same age.
Okay. All right, I feel young now. But yeah, if your career has spun like from 14 to 32, I can't do that maths, but that's like more than 15 years. Yes. If you weren't like amazing at your job, I know that there are some people in that industry that can get away with more than others. But I think a woman, if she wasn't pulling her absolute weight and like doing all the things, she would not be giving as many passes as like another person might be in that industry. So it does say something for like your work ethic.
I mean, for sure, I sacrificed a lot of sort of normal teenagehood to be auditioning and to be away from home and to be on sets and living outside of a suitcase and not outside of a suitcase, living out of a suitcase and being away from friends and family and stability as a young adult. But I felt like I always knew that I wanted to act. I always knew it was the one thing I was good at. I was painfully shy as a child.
Really?
Very insecure, insanely insecure and shy and quiet.
Wow.
I was like an absolute wallflower. Like I didn't speak growing up really.
Wow.
And then I went to Catholic primary school, and in year 6 they had a hot seat challenge thing where they wanted one person to get up and improvise being for religion and one person to get up and improvise being against religion. It being a Catholic school, no one wanted to be the one that was against religion. And I just put my hand up and I said, I'll try it. And I remember the feeling so clearly, like the adrenaline that went through my body of performing and not being me anymore, of kind of pretending to be someone else who was strong and opinionated and wouldn't back down. And that was like a drug to me. It was an absolute like serotonin hit that then I've been chasing ever since, probably.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so interesting. It does make sense. Like, because I think there are a lot of people who act who are shy. And I always am like, that's really interesting. But I guess you're right. If you can just put on that mask of like, well, it's not me. I'm someone else who isn't shy.
Yeah, exactly.
That might be a nice
I still think
release.
I'm an extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
Like very much so. I love company. I love hosting. I love being around people. But I'm actually really kind of heady and in my own head and need my own space and I'm socially anxious to a point where if I'm in a lift and someone gets in it, I'm terrified of them starting a conversation. And it's not because I'm a dick. Like I would love to have the confidence to just chat to people.
Yeah.
But I struggle with it. I struggle to make eye contact with people I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I was raised as an only child and in a very grown-up world. I wasn't really treated like a child. I wasn't taken care of as a child.
Yeah.
I was expected to fit into a grown-up world. So I've always kind of felt a little bit old beyond my years.
Yeah. I also think, people treated you like an adult. Yeah. And I think also if people have known your face since you were 14, I get where you're coming from in that like, I really don't like looking at people and I haven't been on like massive TV shows, but I think, my God, it must be like a million times worse. I've got a little bit of it because being a twin, people often look at twins and we were also like, goths when we were younger, but that was our choice.
Oh, I remember that. I've seen those pictures.
But I feel like, again, not to make it man versus woman, but sometimes, I feel like women would understand an element of that because
100%. I think being a woman
feel
is
like
being
eyes
famous.
are on you. Yeah.
I was talking to an actress about this the other day and she was like, being a woman is essentially the same as being famous all the time, where people think that they have a right to just focus in on you and take from you and that you are a product that they can consume in whatever way they see fit. And for sure, to then be a woman, then have that on top and then be kind of an insecure teenage girl and have people touching you and it's a weird one.
Yeah. And people do often have that attitude where it's like, well, you signed up for this. It's what comes with the territory. And I'm like, maybe, but like, should it come with the territory? No.
No, and I think the generation now are a lot better about it. I've kind of heard recently of quite a lot of actors who don't take pictures with people anymore. And essentially, when I first heard that, I went, oh, that's a bit rude. And they were like, well, no, it's more about them saying, I'll have a conversation with you and I'll have like a meaningful interaction, but I don't want my picture taken. Yeah. And I think we've both had days where we've felt like that. Like I've been hungover as hell on the train on the way to Bristol and someone's come and taken a selfie and I'm like, oh, good God, that's now going to be on the internet forever.
Yeah.
But no, I still take pictures of people. I've learned to set boundaries because I think so much was taken from me without my consent because I didn't know I was allowed to consent. Just as a human, just kind of interactions or, dinners being interrupted. Or I remember being on the phone crying to an ex-boyfriend as he was breaking up with me and someone coming over and taking a picture with me. And I said, yeah, they were like, can I have a picture? And I was like, okay. And I like pulled the phone out a shot and smiled. And I've learned to not do that anymore. So I have certain boundaries. If I'm in a restaurant and I'm eating with friends, then I'll kind of politely say, can we wait until after the meal?
Yeah.
If I'm with my kids, I don't take any pictures. I'll say hello, lovely to meet you, and move on.
Yeah.
I was once with my son and his family got up to ask for a picture. I was holding his hand and he let go of my hand and he went to run away from me outside of the restaurant. And I turned to chase after him. And the dad said, hang on, stop. You're supposed to be taking a picture with us. And I stopped for a split second and then thought, fuck you, my child's running out. Like my attention needs to be on my kids when I'm with them. And so that they grow up knowing that my first job is being their parent.
Yeah.
And then this other thing is just a crazy thing on the side. So yeah, if I'm with my kids, I have boundaries. If anyone's ever rude or disrespects my friends, then go away.
Have you had it,
immediately.
when people like, they just shove a camera off the phone at whoever you're with, and
Yeah.
they're like, can you take a picture of us?
And they don't even acknowledge their
No.
existence. Do you remember? I remember you coming back from Thorpe Park and saying how like you were in the queues and people were just like lifting their phones up and taking pictures of you as you're going around the queues, and it's really awkward because then you go back round them again at some point and then they have to just
Especially if
ignore
you're
you
trying
for
to,
the
like,
rest of the hour.
Slyly avoid being
Yeah.
taken a photo of, and you're like, I really can't do this for an hour when we're snaking back around each other. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all a bit boohoo actory. But yeah, there are sides to it that are difficult, if not strange. But I've learned to accept and look, I think every job has parts of it that's shit that people don't want to do. There isn't a single job in the world that is perfect, that your day-to-day is ideal.
Yeah.
And ours is no different. There are parts of it that I go, oh, fucking hell, I wish I didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
But I also understand that I do, that it is a part of it and you get on with it. And, one of my best friends is just qualified as a midwife, and I'll be on the phone to her complaining about a 16-hour day, and she'll go, yeah, well, I brought life into the world today, or I saw life leave the world today.
Yeah.
And that puts it into context immediately. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I'll shut the fuck up.
Yeah. But it is true. Like, I think, there's so many industries where fucked up shit happens. Like we saw with Me Too, like, and I think the sad thing is, I'm sure things that came out in Me Too are happening in every industry.
Oh, more so.
But because we know the famous people that spoke out, it's like we care more, which I guess if that's going to start it, then good. But I hope it continues through other industries.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's important to note that Me Too highlighted a lot of the problems in the acting industry, but at no time did anybody suggest, well, we need to shut down the industry.
No, of course not.
We were like, no, let's make sure everything is legit and make
that's
sure.
such an interesting comparison, because I guess what I'm hearing is that the unfairness of that, where it, like the sex industry or an app or something that then had some kind of problems, the immediate knee-jerk response would be to go, well, it doesn't belong in society.
Yeah.
And you're completely right, where this entire, the whole of Los Angeles shut down during that for about a day.
Yeah.
And then it was like, right, back to work. How do we fix this? We still need to keep going.
And I was listening to a podcast the other day by actually one of the people we've had on as a guest, Lily O'Farrell. She does she's an illustrator, and I'm sure I've sent you one of her illustrations before. She does like illustrations of very like feminist topics. So
cool.
It's like, I'll send her to, but I was listening to her podcast, and there was one about like fast fashion, and it was saying like this is also an industry that often women get the brunt of the shit in that industry because they're the factory workers.
Right.
And she was saying my instinct was to like boycott companies that used fast fashion, and she was like, which often is the right thing to do, but there is some companies where the workers say, please don't, because we still need this job. We still need to make money. Just please, can you make a big thing about how they need to pay us an actual living wage? Because, so I'm like, it is like a common thread in a lot of industries that, yes, fucked up shit is happening everywhere to women, but the answer is not shut down the industry. The answer is fucking change the industry.
Oh, but that's what equality essentially is. That's why I don't understand people that still fundamentally don't see how feminism literally just means the same amount of respect. I mean, it does to me. I mean, it means equality, same opportunity, same structure. And for a long time, since the beginning of time, that has not been equal. The structure in every single industry has been male dominated because that's how the world was. And all we're kind of pushing for now, I feel, is to match that.
Yeah.
There's no kind of takeover. There's no sort of narrative that there's no place for men within the industry. I mean, I still want to continue to work with actors. I advocate for finding female directors and wanting to tell female-led stories, but I always want to have men within that because that's part of the human experience, right? There is no kind of idea of erasing that. It is just making it seem a little bit more equal in all the small steps that we can do, because it's going to take a fucking long time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I always think, like, it doesn't give, like, we're not saying it gives you a pass to be a dickhead just because you're a woman.
No,
like,
not at all.
No one said that, but also
I have no
think,
arsehole policy across the board. On
yeah.
set.
I don't want to work with
male,
arseholes.
female, whatever it may be. I mean, it does tend to it's usually the male actors that I need to watch out for, or that I've been told about, or that I have to kind of vet to see if I want to work with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exactly the same. You know,
Yeah.
it's just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Anyone.
And I think people who men who know they worked hard to get where they were, but like it's going to be hard for someone to do their job like they do. I don't find that those are the men who are like, fuck feminism and feminists and whatever, because they're like, well, I know I'm valuable in this industry and I know I do my job well. And I think it's only people who deep down subconsciously maybe know that they didn't really do everything they should have to get where they were. They might have got a few like helping hands because of their background or whatever. I think they're the ones that tend to get a bit very like, but it's mine. It's my job. It's no, you can't like, and I'm like, it's fine. Like if you're good at your job and you work fucking hard to get there, no one's going to take your job. It's just like we're giving everyone an equal opportunity to get where you are now, rather than just people that look like you.
Yeah.
But yes. On that, if you could do, or if you're forced to have to do another job, acting didn't exist.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that stands out to you that you would be? I always think I would be a lawyer.
Ah.
But I think it's because I've watched Legally Blonde too many times.
You would be a very good lawyer. I would hire you immediately. I love interior design. I really love people's houses.
Yeah, you're really good at that kind of stuff.
I love, again, it's another creative job. I don't think I could do anything that wasn't creative. But I love making a home. I loved it. I think because I never really had one growing up, and I moved a lot. And then when I started acting, I was in hotel rooms forever. And to me, home is like a really symbolic thing. And I love the idea of setting up some sort of interior design company that caters to people that don't have a huge budget, that don't want to pay 400 quid for a lamp, but still want their home to feel like it reflects their personality.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I would like to do something.
I could 100% see you doing that.
Yeah.
That would be cool. Have you ever had any side jobs other than act? I know you did modelling.
Yeah, but I was never paid for that. No, that was all just publicity. So I, at like 16 years old, I would go to all these different photo shoots in these like studios in the middle of nowhere on my own completely, get there, have these crazy, scary fashion people telling me that I needed to bleach my eyebrows or fit into a dress. But I was about a size 6 back then.
I was going to say, you were tiny.
I was tiny and I wouldn't fit in half of the clothes and I would get insecure from it. And then I'd be, you know, having my photo taken by these older men all day, and I was never paid for any of it. It was always sort of counted as publicity. And look, I've learned a lot from those photo shoots, and now I really actually love photo shoots and I understand the creativity behind it. But that's because I'm more assertive and I'm able to go, I'm not comfortable in this, or let's do something fun with the makeup. I'm more part of the conversation. But when I was 16, I was a child being just kind of dolled up quite literally. So yeah, I never considered myself a model, because I also really respect models in that it's really not for me. Like it's quite, you have to kind of feel about it a certain way, which I don't. I find it quite mind-numbing. And I'm not saying that being a model is a mind-numbing job at all. I think it's actually a very particular skill that I'm just particularly not very good at. Yeah. And that I don't have the patience for or the skill set for. Yeah. No, side hustles. So my first ever proper job was in a flower shop. I loved it.
I was like, oh, why do I have some memory of like floristry or something like that?
Yeah, so me and my friend Paige it was during work experience in secondary school, and we didn't know what the hell we were going to do. And she said, let's ask for floristry jobs because then we can get a Saturday job out of it. And I was like, okay, you genius. Yeah. You like absolute blew my mind. I was like, you're thinking ahead. I'm thinking till Saturday. So we both got put into placements in different flower shops, and then I got a Saturday job out of it. And so every Saturday I would go work. I would have to be there at 6 a.m. to take in the first flowers that arrived from the market. I would empty out the vases, which was disgusting. Do you know if you've ever had flowers in your house, if you leave them too long, that like slimy smell, that times pond 50 smell. Is pond. You'd clean out all the vases, trim all the flowers down, put them in their pots, and then throughout the day, obviously serve people and all of that. And I loved it. It was absolutely like proper hard manual labor. And I'd get paid £20 for the whole day.
Oh my God.
And I was so chuffed with that. I was like, I can buy 10 Mayfair and a packet of crisps. I'm sorted for the weekend.
That's lunch and dinner.
Yeah, it's lunch and dinner. I'm good.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, that sounds really sweet though.
It was sweet. I did it for about a year.
Oh, wow.
I really, really liked it. And I loved Lorna, who was my boss there, was the kind of first adult influence I had outside of school. And she was really cool. She was like a self-made woman. She was working class, but she worked really, really hard. She was unapologetic about her feminism. She was always falling in and out of love, but she spoke to me as like an adult and she would discuss it with me. And she treated me like an adult. And it was really kind of refreshing when you go from school environment to that environment.
Yeah.
But it was hard work. It was like, it was an odd one, but I loved it. And I kind of dream of having my own little flower shop one day.
Flower shop / interiors.
So, yeah,
You
maybe
could
combine
100% do that. I know this is probably going to be a hard one, but like, does a best job stand out for you? It doesn't necessarily need to be acting. If it was the flower shop, it might have been the flower shop. But I always...
No, I mean, I'm really proud of what I've achieved in my career-wise. So there isn't like a sort of specific job, but I'm proud that I've never... I've had a lot of offers through for films that I've turned down because I didn't believe in the female character. And a lot of times I had people around me saying, yeah, but it's a load of money. Just go do it. These films sell. It doesn't matter that you're just playing the girlfriend or that she isn't a real person. And to me, I say it a lot, but when people ask, oh, you play these strong female characters. And I go, well, that's because that's the only women I've ever met.
Yeah.
I have never met a woman who isn't strong. I've never met a woman who is, who's only funny or only sexual or only aggressive. They are colourful and there are a million different things that go into making women who they are. It's just not realistic to me. So I can never play a two-dimensional character because I've never met a two-dimensional woman.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be very satisfying, like,
it wouldn't be interesting.
Job to do.
No.
No,
and there have been moments where like I haven't been able to afford my rent or I've had to move in with boyfriends, which I shouldn't have done.
Oh, same.
But I've always kind of tried to keep a clear career path in integrity and playing characters that I believe in and that I can back up, whether they make good decisions or not.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think you should always play likable characters.
Yeah.
It's more about being able to say that they feel human and they feel real, even if they're an alien. Do you know what I mean?
Because nobody wants to watch a perfect person.
No,
because that's not relatable at all.
No, it's not relatable and it's boring.
And they're not going to learn. Like, I feel like the satisfying thing is watching a character like learn or develop. Yeah. And if you got a one-dimensional character that they're not capable of like learning, like what's the point?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, like, how have you found different people react to your work? So like often, again, this comes down to like how men react versus how women react. But like for me, I found when I've done a million different jobs.
I know you have the best resume in the world.
I'm debatable. Most eclectic. And I found like I used like dating as a kind of, again, very autistic of me, like a kind of like data collecting thing where I would be like, it's interesting. I always take dates to the same place. I wear the same outfit. But then each time when they say, what do you do? I say like slightly different things and like watch their reaction, mostly to entertain myself because I was often very bored on these dates. But yeah, I found like it's very weird. Like the difference between like how men would respond if I said, oh, I'm doing stand-up comedy or I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Often like people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, they like seem to react better if I say I'm a writer than if I say like I'm an actress. Definitely if I say I do OnlyFans content. So yeah, I just wonder how you found that kind of thing.
There's definitely that. I mean, for me, I found it more with age. Like when I was 15, 16 and I would need to rent a place because I didn't have anywhere to live and I was living on friends' couches and I would call up landlords and be like, can I please rent your flat? Would you? And they'd say, what do you do? And I'd say, I'm an actor. And they would be like, hang up immediately. And there was no kind of social media to back that up, to kind of be like, no, look, I do work.
Yeah.
I've always found the older generation quite judgy of it when I was younger, that I was an actor and that I wanted that to be my career and my job. And then as I've gotten older, I've noticed that men react to it. I don't know, because I don't really meet men. I don't know where they are. Do you know what I mean? I don't like just chat to them. I've had the same friends like you guys since I was a kid. So I very rarely. I don't know. I think online is probably a good way of judging it. There will be certain people who, when I post a picture with me with a male co-star, for example, on whatever job it may be, they'll immediately be like, oh, why is she looking at him like that? Oh, she's trying to sleep with him. Oh, she fancies him. And it's like, no, it's just my job to work with him. That's quite bizarre. And I don't think men get that in return, male actors. The mortgage company hates me. Like anyone who does what I would consider real job thinks acting is bullshit. It's just like...
It's so weird, but I guess you're right. Like, I mean, obviously my career is a different stage to yours, but when this is the first year I haven't had to have a guarantor for my rent. And I'm like, but I think that's a problem for a lot of self-employed people.
100%,
because it's like, no, I don't have 60 times the monthly rent to prove that I can afford this. But like, how can anyone with a creative freelance job like prove to you that, especially if you were 15?
But like, how do you budget for your month? How do you know what bills you're going to be able to pay? Like, that's something I struggled with my whole career is that financial stability of knowing what's coming in and what's going out every month, because we don't know. I mean, acting is a feast or famine job.
Yeah.
And for 90% of the time, it's famine. It just is. And I'm one of the really lucky ones in that I've managed to have acting be my primary source of income for over 10 years. But I think there's something like, if you look at the SAG-AFTRA members, so the Actors Union, only 1% of them are ever actually working at any time.
Wow.
That's how kind of little work there really is for actors out there. That's why so many have to have side hustles and things like that. But yeah, any kind of admin-y things that require proof of earnings over longer than a week, I'm screwed with, because it is so up and down and odd.
It's so
and again,
so
like we were talking about before, there's no maternity leave, there's no sick pay, there's no, if you're in America, it's very difficult to get insurance from being an actor. You have to work a certain amount of job or to earn a certain amount to then be part of the union that then gives you healthcare. Which is bizarre, because how do you begin? How do you start? It's unstable, but great.
Yeah. Well, that brings me on to my next question, which is, what is your favorite thing about your work? I think we've said a lot of things, but I guess if there's one thing that like stands out.
I mean, what stands out to me is that I love it. That I get to do something I love. That the little girl in me who was so shy, so scared of the world, found this one thing that made her happy, and now I get to kind of still do it. That's really, really cool. I love that every job is different. I love the experience of meeting new people, traveling around the world. Like, I think the greatest gift this job has given me is the opportunity to travel and learn about the world and see the world. And then probably, I've said like 4 things, but one of the biggest benefits, and I'll be really honest about this, because people are always like, do you get free shit? And the truth is, yeah, we kind of do. And the biggest benefit of it for me is that I get to take my friends on holiday and I get to have experiences with them. Like,
as a recipient of one of those holidays, I'm also very glad. But yes, it's so nice.
It's a huge benefit. And I think sometimes, people that have a following are embarrassed to admit that. But I'm like, fuck, no, this is incredible. Like my mates we would never have got to experience this if it wasn't for my Instagram or whatever it may be. And that's really great. And seeing like experiences with my friends together, whether that be us going to, I don't know, the opening of a garden or something, or to the club when we were teenagers. Is my favorite part of it, getting to share that with everyone around me and feeling like we're the ones that snuck in, like where we're in those spaces and we're like, they don't know that we're not meant to be here.
Like honestly, the only reason I know how to drive now is because
you got the lessons.
The lessons in Skins they gave us, because I can't remember the company, but they gave us free lessons, and I was like, I was getting 30 quid a week EMA for like everything. So if I didn't have driving lessons for free, I would not be driving now. So Instagram following and like eyes on you, I feel like back in the day before, getting things from Instagram and making money off of social media became like a big thing, it was harder to do that. Whereas nowadays I'm like, yes, there is so many bad sides of social media and being online all the time. But sometimes people who like really wouldn't have been able to get a look in if it wasn't for like YouTube, Instagram, whatever, they now sometimes have a chance to like get some kind of income indirectly through that.
I mean, look at what you've done. You were part of a show that was a huge fucking phenomenon. You're part of a show that was a huge phenomenon. How do you say it? Phenomenon. You were part of a show that was a huge phenomenon. I'm going to say something else. You were part of a really huge show, and we weren't paid particularly well for it. I mean, we didn't have agents. We didn't have any experience. We weren't known names. So they got away with paying us the absolute bare minimum. And you've managed to find a way to monetize that 15 years later. And I'm so fucking proud of you for it, because you've shone a light on the fact that, you know, people assume that if you're part of something that was big 10 years ago, that means your life is sorted forever. And it's just not the case at all. And that it's up to you to go out there and find ways to use that to your advantage. And I absolutely rate you for it. I think many of us have, like, we've all kind of gone down different routes, right? Like Ollie went back to university, which is really cool. You've kind of found your way of channeling your creativity into a lot, I must say. Sometimes worry that you're doing too much, but I'm very proud of you because you do a lot with it. And some have gone on to be writers, and you know, some are working corporate office jobs and still auditioning, and that's really cool too. And we're all still people doing a job.
Yeah.
Whether it's creative or not, it's still a job and it's still a hustle, and it's unique to each individual person. But yeah, I absolutely love that now you're using that experience from so long ago that could have been this sour thing in your mind, and you're taking it and going, I'm going to do something very unique and very interesting out of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like that's important, because I think there's a lot of stuff coming out recently about, like, you know, child stars. I know, like, I wasn't like a child star, but like we were
the
on like the
experience
biggest
of
show
being
at
young
the time.
and being on the biggest show at the time. Yeah.
And it is like, okay, but let's make sure we like protect those kids going forward, so that it's not like they were just that person that one time. And if they were just that one person that one time, let's make sure that they are like compensated fairly for that.
Yeah.
Because it is a lot to give up. Like you said, you gave up a lot of time with college and whatever. So I do think it's important that, and also I like refuse to feel bad about like really pimping out the fact that I'm like, hey, remember me?
No, but do it. 100%. You were iconic. You're still fucking iconic, and use it to your advantage now. Absolutely.
Thanks. So we've covered a lot of like the good things of our industry. But is there like something that you don't like, or it doesn't need to like slam the industry, but like something that you would want to see change about the acting industry if you could?
Yeah, for sure. I think much like any industry, we still have a very, very long way to go to achieve actual equality. When I'm on a set, I will look at the faces around me, and there's no way that I see 50-50 when it comes to male, female, or people of color. In any way, shape, or form. It is still dominated by white men, from the actors to the producers to the electricians. I think there's still a long way for us to go in ensuring that equality. And I think it's sometimes down to the actors or to the producers to take a stand for that, and to say, I want more female crew. I want more women and men of color on this crew. I want more creative minds that aren't all from private schools. I think that we still need to continue having that conversation. It is getting there, and I'm really proud of the actors that are doing that now, and I think a lot are. There's some really interesting campaigning going on for that. I think the Me Too movement was absolutely wonderful, but again, there's still a long way to go. That still is happening. We need to take care of our young actors and our child actors and ensure that they feel safe on set. I think everyone deserves to go to work and feel safe. Nobody should be put in a position where someone with power is abusing that power over them at work.
Yeah.
I really kind of support all the crew members that at the moment having discussions about their hours and how that should be handled. It's still very odd that we, as an industry, will shoot for 6-7 weeks, but those days will be 18 plus hours long. And the crew drive themselves to and from work, and they're exhausted. And I've been on so many sets where someone's gotten in a car accident after work because they're so exhausted.
Oh my God.
And so there's a kind of a big moment at the moment where the crews are sort of saying, we need fairer hours, we need compensation for bank holidays and all of that.
Yeah.
Good old-fashioned workers' rights.
Good, yeah.
Like, as it should be, because movie making doesn't save the world. It is wonderful, and entertainment is important. I think we saw that during lockdown. Escapism, I still believe in movies and the power of magic of storytelling, but we're not actually saving anyone's life. And I think it's important that we take care of our crew and our actors and just make it a safe workplace.
Yeah, it's just basic like worker rights, right?
Yeah.
It's everybody is entitled to that. Is there like a random fact about your work or the industry that you are like, you know what, it's really weird, but people think acting's like this, or people don't know this about acting, and it would be really funny if they knew that reality?
Well, I don't know.
Mine was always like, oh, everyone thinks it's like really glamorous, but
it's a
like it is like the
caravan.
least glamorous thing.
It's literally you're wearing like this old raggedy coat that's got cat's apple peels in the pocket.
Lily's tissues.
Lily's tissues. Jack's tobacco.
Yeah.
Yeah, like no. Yeah, it's very unglamorous. But then there are glamorous moments, I guess. I don't know. I think it's more this is something I've figured out. I've been, we started off on Skins where we all didn't know anyone, didn't know each other. And then we'd be at like Tifa on the beach and we'd see Brian Bello from Big Brother and we'd be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah, and we'd be like, he's so fucking famous, he's so fucking cool. And then like I've had the opportunity as my career has gone on to be in some rooms with some really famous people. No offense to Brian, but like, like slightly higher level.
He's still up there.
He's still up there. We rate Brian. And I think I've realized that they are just all people. I've seen one of the most famous sexy men in the world pick his nose. I've seen people scratch their ass. Like they are just all completely human. And a lot of them are quite dumb. A lot of them are lovely and kind. And people always ask me like, who's the biggest dick? But I kind of prefer to call out the ones that are really great and nice and kind. And there is a lot of that out there still.
Yeah.
But I think it shouldn't be surprising, but it is surprising to highlight that they are all just people.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, it shouldn't be surprising, but I think we do. People we see on screens, we feel like we know them, but we do not know them. Yeah. And they're like so much similar to us, so much more similar to us than we would assume.
Yeah. And like some of them are really sexy, but shit kisses. And like, you remember what I'm talking about? No.
Oh, okay. That's a good thing we don't have video. But yeah, I guess on that, I always ask people, is there a lesson, like a life lesson that you learned the hard way that you're like, oh my God, I wish someone told me when I was like 12 that that is not what you have to do, so that I wouldn't have had to learn that lesson.
Yeah. I think I put a lot of my worth into boyfriends growing up. I needed someone to look after me. And because I didn't have parents to do that, I thought relationships were the answer to that. I thought having a boyfriend meant that they would take care of me and that I would give them everything.
But we're taught to do that.
We're taught to do that. We're conditioned to do that. And I spent a lot of my early 20s and my late teenagehood, is that what you call it? My late teenagehood. Really dependent on these boyfriends and giving up my friendships and my time and my fun to be there for them and to help guide them and take care of them. And I wish I'd spent a little bit more time falling in love with my friends, because I've realized now, looking back, the great loves of my life are my friends. Like they are my female friends, are the big loves of my life. And I wish I'd kind of known that sooner, but also I think it's important to have gone through that at the time.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have known.
You wouldn't have known.
This is the point of life lessons.
Yeah, and you're meant to get your heart broken over and over again and eventually learn nothing.
But the good thing is, I think our generation of women, hopefully, were the last of the Disney generations where we were like, oh my God, I can't wait for my happily ever after.
I know. Now they talk about things like red flags. I'm like, oh my God.
I'm very proud of the Gen Zs.
Well done, Gen Z.
I'm very happy.
Call it out.
And I also like, I do love shows like Married at First Sight, which yes, it's reality and so it's not all real. But I do like the idea that when we grew up, we watched films where the end scene was like,
the wedding.
And she meets her prince and they live happily ever after.
So true.
Whereas Married at First Sight is like, okay, well, here's what might happen if that really did happen. Like, it could be a car crash. Like, you never know.
That's so true.
But at least we're getting that now. We're not teaching women, like, well, I also think it taught men some unhealthy things too, because women were basically taught from those Disney, like, films, the most important thing is to find a husband. Don't really worry about what happens after the marriage, but as long as you're married, that's great.
Yeah, check you've done it.
Yeah. But then also I think men are taught from that, you don't really have to do much.
Don't have to try
and there
afterwards.
will be a woman waiting.
Just stand there, look vaguely hot, and she'll
they
appear
will
singing.
come. Yeah, like they will come to you. And so I do sometimes, I rarely side with men, but sometimes I think if you've been taught your whole life that you are owed women's attention, like you need to unlearn that. But like I get where you're coming from, that you were also fed really bad narratives about how relationships between men and women work.
Look, I think it's having a conversation, and I do think the new generation talk about it more, just openly, like we're saying, pros and cons of social media. The fact that it can be discussed and that you can see other people's experiences and learn from them, whether that be healthy or not. It's quite interesting. It's something that we didn't have. We kind of, like you say, had our ideas of love and relationships either through the school playground, our parents, or movies. And the three of those were never necessarily good or correct. Thank God there's like a therapist now out there that's showing us how we're meant to love.
Our generation is funding many therapists' lifestyle.
But the only other advice I would also give myself is to learn about taxes and learn how to pay and do admin and all that shit that we were never taught in school and that I still struggle with now.
Yeah.
If someone had just sat me down and gone, this is what an accountant is, this is why it's important, this is what taxes, this is how to save, this is how to manage your money, that would have been very helpful.
I really agree. I really feel like, why is there not a class? I know everyone says this, but a class in school or just like a couple of lessons where they cover the basics?
The basics. Tell me how to send a letter. Tell me how to type an email. Like, I still do. I'm like, is this regards?
Yeah,
is this wishes? Which one is it?
Yeah, people get, I now autistically have just been like, everything I just write, best. And then my boyfriend was like, why are you writing best to our landlord? That's weird. And I was like, that's how I end emails because I can't be bothered to think of what the different appropriate social thing is. So it's just best. And then do I put a kiss? And he was like, you've put best regards and then a kiss. Like, that's really weird.
He's getting so many mixed messages. He's like, does she like me? Does she hate me? Is this passive aggressive?
I'm sorry to my landlord. But I do think you're right. I think part of it is maybe not on purpose, but I think the part of the reason that they don't teach this stuff in school, like financial knowledge, is because it would mean that kids from like working class backgrounds might have access to jump a class bracket. Like I have a financial advisor now, and the only reason I have him is because my friend who's a lifelong sex worker who has been making money for years was like, hey, you should get a financial advisor because, for example, that money is just sitting in your account. Do you know there are accounts where they give you money for just having money? And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she was like, yeah, you get money for having money if you put it in a certain bank account. And I was like, why did no one tell me this? I just had money in my bank that's just been sitting there. And I feel like those are the things that people don't have access to.
Well, yeah, I think it was also structured in that you would get that from your family, right?
Yeah.
So if you were gentryed, if you'd come from a lord or the rest of it, your family owned land, owned property, then they knew the ways around it. They had their own solicitors, they have their own lawyers, they have their own accountants, and that's passed down generation by generation. And once it gets to the school system, the school's assuming that when you enter, if you're working class, that's what you're going to go out being. If you are upper class, then that's what you're going to leave being. And they don't spend time on that kind of getting it in there young to teach you that these things are possible and that these boundaries don't need to be there.
Yeah, just let them have the chance of doing. It's crazy. Yes. So I guess we've covered life lessons. But what is next? Where do you see yourself in? I thought 10 years as well.
Don't say 10, babe. We'll be so old by then.
No.
I don't want to think about 10 years from now.
Where will you be in 5 years' time?
5 years' time. My big goal over the next few years, and I'm willing to take time with it because I think it should take time, is to set up my own production company and to find work, create work that I know is good. Like we were talking about earlier, I've read so many scripts. I've seen so much shit that has a huge amount of funding. Like I will read these scripts and they're financed by these studios and there are all these people involved. And I'm reading it going, am I crazy? This is bad. This isn't interesting. And it's not just a taste thing. It's a structure thing. And I've met so many incredible writers that are, don't have a foot in the door, that don't have someone who's given them that opportunity. So I'd like to form a production company. I have formed it, but I haven't done anything with it yet, where we take control of that a little bit more. And we champion female voices. We champion women of color, women from working class backgrounds, and just to bring a bunch of creatives together. I think sometimes Americans do that really well and we don't.
Yeah.
Over here, we're a little bit more competitive with each other in the creative industry in Britain. I don't know if that's because it's a smaller industry. I don't know if that's because of our class system. But I think Americans are quite good at, having a think tank meeting, just bringing different people together and trying to create and having the enthusiasm to create. And I want to bring that over here a little bit.
Yeah.
I want to just find some cool female minds and not necessarily just female, but just, interesting people, bring them together. Try and create stories that are relatable, but still entertainment and still fun. I still believe that storytelling and filmmaking should be entertainment.
Yeah.
No one wants to watch just like foreign language art house for their entire lives. I love foreign language art house, but I can't do it all the time either.
Yeah.
There needs to be a balance of all that. And I want to create.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do next.
I think that would be amazing. I do think a lot of that is, I have a friend who, she was saying like, it's so like middle class and British to be like, don't talk about money, don't
Yeah,
tell
no, it's
people what you're
ridiculous.
working on, like,
Yeah.
and it's like, why? Like, why? They might be like, oh, I
I
wanted
can
to do
help you
something
with
like that
that.
too. I can help, yeah. And
100%.
And
Yeah, I think we
again-
are like that as a culture. It's
Yeah.
very unique to here.
it would, I think if we spoke more, especially as women, if we didn't see each other as competition, we saw
Yeah.
each other as like friends, like we could be like, right, let's collaborate. We're not in competition. Let's collaborate. We can do something amazing together,
Yeah, definitely.
better than we could do on our own.
Mm.
What are you working on at the moment?
I have a TV show coming out at the end of the year called Senna on Netflix, which is about the life of Ayrton Senna, who was a Formula One driver.
Hi, Meg from the future here. Just wanted to jump in and say that we recorded this podcast quite a while ago now. So Senna is now available to watch on Netflix, and I highly recommend it. It is brilliant. But now back to the podcast.
A Brazilian Formula One driver who died on the track very famously. He was a hero, he's a national hero in Brazil. And we're telling the story of his life. And I am part Brazilian. I have a parent who was Brazilian and I grew up speaking Portuguese, and I've always wanted to use my Portuguese on screen, but quite insecure about it because I'm not formally trained in it. I didn't go to school for Portuguese. I can't read or write. I can just conversationally speak fluently.
But again, that's the thing. You've done it your whole life.
I know, I've done it my whole life. And my culture, I feel in my heart more Brazilian than I do British because that was the environment I grew up in. And like you've seen, the food I cook is Brazilian. And I think my temper and my heart and my emotions and all of that definitely come from more of a Brazilian side. And so I've always wanted to use my Portuguese on screen. And this opportunity came along where I'm only in it a little bit, but I get to speak English and Portuguese. And so
oh, great.
I'm very excited for that. I hope I don't let the entire country down.
I feel like that would be it would be very hard to let the whole country down.
Yeah, I know. Like, shut the fuck up, Kaya. For God's sake, you're not that special.
No, I think they would love you. I genuinely, I have faith.
Yeah. And then this year I want to just do a few more indies. I was lucky enough that The Gentleman ended up being really quite successful, and we weren't necessarily expecting it to. But that means I can now kind of go off and do some heart projects that I want to do that are like meaningful to me, in the middle of nowhere for no money, but are actually fun.
Yeah. But that's the beauty of like being at this point in your career, I guess, because you can do that. It's not like, no, I need to pay the bills.
I need to pay the bills.
Like,
I need to go do the shit.
I actually can do what
Yeah.
I want.
Yeah.
And so I was going to say, where can listeners find your recent projects? But I feel like The Gentleman was number 1 on Netflix, so it's quite easy to find. Is there anything else that you think you want to plug but people might not know about?
Oh God, no! I'd hate plugging myself. Way.
It's okay. I'll big you up in the intro. So
Thanks.
don't worry. Yeah. Well,
we should do something again together, Meg.
Yeah.
Let's do something.
This was great.
No, not this. Like a job together.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Well, we had the thoughts of I don't want anyone to steal this idea, but on the plane back from Mauritius, we watched. We got drunk and watched a great film.
We got drunk and watched a film together,
which needs to be remade because
they made a TV show of it, but it wasn't very good. But it wasn't very good. We can still do it. We can still get.
Well,
it.
I hadn't heard of it.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Maybe we can just go over it and buy the rights, and then that needs to be done.
That's my favorite memory of you, actually, being drunk on that flight with you. So we both put our little TVs on. We had our little headphones on. We started it at the same time, so it was like we were watching it together. But we were both laughing so loudly that our friends had to tap us on the shoulder and tell us to shut the fuck up because everyone on the plane was turning around to watch us hysterically.
I was going to say, to be fair, the women next to us were noticing but finding it funny.
They were amused by it.
They were amused.
So we weren't annoyed. We weren't being like obnoxious on the flight.
No.
But
also, you get more drunk on planes, I think, right?
It was the drunkest we'd been on the whole holiday. We'd been away for 10 days.
One or two, maybe 3 of those little bottles of red wine smashed. Like, ridiculous. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast. And yes, I hopefully will be getting a sponsor and this podcast will blow up and then we can have you back one day.
Will. Let's go viral.
When we've got video.
The fun kind of viral.
Yeah.
All
right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meg.
Thank you very much for listening to this episode of Really Good Exposure with me, Megan Prescott. If you like the podcast, please subscribe to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. And if you're feeling extra generous, give it a nice review. If you want to find me online, my Instagram is @Megatron, that's MEGARTRON.
Threads, I'm also Megatron. I'm on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter, at Meg_Prescott. And you can find a number of ridiculous videos involving me on my YouTube channel by searching youtube.com/Megan Audition. You can find more information about me and what I'm up to on my website, meganprescott.com. And if you have any questions that you'd like me and my guests to try to advise you on, please send them in to megartron@protonmail.com. And I will answer the ones I think I could give the worst advice to. I'm just joking, I give excellent advice. This episode was brought to you by me, Megan Prescott. Recording, editing, and post-production by Adam Grigg. Original music also by Adam Grigg. Thanks again for listening and for all of the really good exposure.
What a great episode. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed listening to that episode as much as me and Kaya did recording it. But now I can finally make the announcement that I have been itching to make for weeks. And that is that my solo show, Really Good Exposure, winner of the Fringe debut at the 2024 Edinburgh Fringe, is coming to Soho Theatre for a 2-week run this September. So it's going to be on from Tuesday the 2nd to Saturday the 13th of September. And the tickets are officially available to buy now. So please get your tickets ASAP. The last shows we did at Soho, we did 2 special shows as part of their Rising Festival, and those sold out way quicker than we thought they would. So if you're my friend and you're listening to this, get your tickets now so that you don't miss out again. I really hope that you can make one of those shows. If you are listening to this podcast, you've got a little bit of a head start. I'm going to wait for about a day or so before I do a big blast on social media about the fact that the tickets are now available. So make sure that you go and get yours now. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you all at one of the Really Good Exposure performances.
A lot of the topics that we talk about on Really Good Exposure relate to women's rights, worker rights, and the sorry state that both of those are in right now. I believe that women have the right to choose what they do with their bodies and how they make their money. And I believe that how we choose to use our bodies should never, ever alleviate perpetrators of violence from accountability. I believe that all workers deserve basic human rights and protections, and I believe that predators are always responsible for violence, not victims. If you agree, please consider donating to National Ugly Mugs. National Ugly Mugs is a pioneering national organisation that provides greater access to justice and protection for sex workers. Sex workers are often targeted by dangerous individuals and face obstacles to reporting, access to services, and police protection. Those who harm sex workers offend against all of us. You can donate to National Ugly Mugs using the link in the show notes, and you can follow National Ugly Mugs on Instagram at National Ugly Mugs. Thank you.